Hello? Santa sure likes his Santa snow globe. One of my special elves, Bubbly, got this for me last Christmas. Wonderful, wonderful treat. Welcome to Santa's studio. The last story we read involved Mr. Willoughby's Christmas tree. We've read other stories involving trees as well. Welcome to Santa's studio. Santa's studio is on my, what do you call it? YouTube channel called Santa Jeff Claus. Santa Jeff Claus is where you can watch videos that Santa has made in the past. You can watch them anytime you choose. Although I do broadcast live once a week on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time. But that's not here on the YouTube channel. It's on my Facebook called I Believe in Santa. Ho, ho, ho. I believe in Santa. Ho, ho, ho. And during those live broadcasts, I share stories that Santa has experienced, true life stories. I read a storybook like I read here. I answer your questions. I wish people happy birthdays. Sometimes I even share little bits of information about Santa's objects. Dare I go and grab one for you? Although this isn't a real broadcast but there's one sitting right here. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I can reach it. Oh, I hope I don't knock the camera over. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Can you see that? That's Santa's giant belt buckle. And I'm going to show you. Look at this. Santa's a big guy with a big belly, you know that. And look at how big and how many holes there are on this belt. This is a big belt and a big belt buckle, a golden buckle, to hold Santa's hands up. Ho, 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 ho. So sometimes during my live broadcasts, I share things like that. Items that Santa uses. You can't see way in the very back, it's hidden somewhere. I have a large walking stick called a sphere. The scepter has Rudolph on each side of the scepter, and I'll navigate on his sleigh as he goes around the world. In case Rudolph gets us a little bit lost in the fog or the snow, Santa's scepter helps us out. Tonight I'll be reading a few more small stories. I think this will be, in the future, I'll be reading stories like Polar Express. Maybe you heard about that one. A girl named Virginia wrote a letter to a newspaper asking if indeed Santa was real. Wonderful, wonderful stories. So many of them that I'll be reading in coming days. I hope you stay tuned. I can't post these at any particular time or day, so you'll just have to keep checking back. And I'm not all that wonderful with technology, but I think maybe if you look at this YouTube channel, Santa Jeff Claus, I think you might be able to, is there a thumb where you can give it a thumbs up, or you can like it, or maybe there's a subscribe button or something like that you can tap. Wow. I think I'll save this one for the night before Christmas. Santa's Helpers. Santa's Helpers. I think I read this one a few weeks ago during my regular live broadcast. Santa's Helpers. Oh, Santa, in his travels around the world, runs into all kinds of people and children that help others. We started these broadcasts probably a year ago, live, and the very first story I read involved a girl named Anja, and she was a very good helper. The weather had turned cold, and Christmas was in the air. Eddie and his friends knew what that meant, that Santa was coming. They excitedly got out their crayons and paper, and they drew Christmas pictures while talking about the things on their wish lists. "I'm going to ask Santa for a toy truck," said Eddie. "I'm going to ask him for a new dolly," answered Sarah Lynn. "What about you, Michael?" "I'd like a new sled," he said. His eyes were sparkling, thinking about a new sled that he might get. "Tomorrow when we see Santa, we can tell him all of these things," Maggie said. "I can't wait." You see, they're drawing pictures. The next day, the friends went to visit Santa. They took turns telling him what they hoped he would bring on Christmas morning. "Santa," said Eddie, "you have so many gifts to deliver. How do you do it?" "I do have a lot to do," Eddie said, Santa laughing. How does Santa laugh? Ho, ho, ho. Can you laugh like that? Ho, ho, ho. "How do you do it?" said Eddie. "And I couldn't do it without help from all of my elves." But even kids like you and your friends can help make Christmas special for other people. See them visiting Santa? Now, Santa up here at the North Pole, that's me. I have many helpers around the world. Some of the most special helpers I allow to use my red suit. I give them their own, and they're able to visit with many, many people around the entire world. But I also have special helpers, like aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers. And I also have millions of children that help make Christmas wonderful for other people around the world. Children like we're reading about today. "I wish I could be one of Santa's special helpers," said Eddie. "I think it would be fun to be one of his elves. But what could we do to be helpful?" Eddie thought for a moment. "Hey, we could do nice things for other people. Yeah, I'd like to make it a Merry Christmas for the birds and other animals," giggled Sonia. That reminds me of a story we read a little while ago. Many stories. Trees in the forest not getting picked, but they still are decorated by families that go and visit them. And they put decorations on it that are for the creatures of the forest. Nuts and honey and fruits. And the creatures enjoy a much nicer Christmas because people go into the forest and decorate natural trees. And here we have Sonia wanting to decorate and make the trees special for the birds and other animals of the forest. Michael says, "I think I could make something special with my paints. I like to paint." "Oh, what about Farmer Jed and our teacher too?" said Sarah Lynn. "They do so much for us and help us. They grow our food and they teach us." Maggie was starting to get excited. Let's get started. The next day, Michael thought of a fun way to spread Christmas cheer. He asked the shop owners in town if he could paint their windows for the holidays. Sarah Lynn and Eddie came along to help. and they had a great time painting. The storefront, and they're spreading the cheer. Sarah Lynn remembered that Farmer Jed's mittens had holes in them. "Will you help me knit him a new pair?" she asked her mother. "I think that's a wonderful idea," her mother answered. "Let's pick out some yarn." And see, there they are, knitting mittens for Farmer Jed. And then they went to the farmer's field and saw Farmer Jed. They were finished. Sarah Lynn and her mother, they all went to the farmer's field and delivered them, and they sang Christmas carols to Farmer Jed. "Merry Christmas to you, Farmer Jed. And thank you so much for the warm mittens," he said. "They are perfect." Our farmers are so important. They grow all of the food that we grow. Many of you get your food at a grocery store, but where does that food come from? A farmer somewhere has grown that food for you. Sonia Lee also thought of a perfect gift for her animal friends. A tree decorated with yummy treats for them to eat. "In winter, it must be hard to find food," she sighed. "Many parts of the world have snow that covers all of the food that the animals of the world and the forest would normally eat. Now they have a Christmas tree of their very own to nibble on. There's popcorn and berries and apples, all kinds of wonderful things to eat." Have you ever made a pine cone covered in honey and seeds and nuts and put it out for creatures? When a storm covered the neighborhood in snow, Eddie knew exactly what he wanted to do. He gathered his friends and they all shoveled Mrs. Brown's walkway. You see, Mrs. Brown was an elderly lady. She had helped so many children and neighbors when she was younger, and now she needed some help having her walkway shoveled, and the children did that. And when they were finished, Mrs. Brown came outside with hot cocoa. "Helping others is yummy," laughed Michael. "Thanks for the cocoa." "Thank you, children, and Merry Christmas," Mrs. Brown said, smiling. You see the walkway that they're cleaning up? And there Mrs. Brown has the cocoa. Remember, when you drink cocoa, be careful. It can burn your mouth. On the last day of school before Christmas, all of the children had a special gift for their teacher. Homemade spicy gingerbread cookies. Each cookie looked like one of her students. There was even a cookie shaped like Freddie. "Thank you, children," she said. "These cookies are very special. They're almost too cute to eat." "Merry Christmas," the children said to their teacher, "and thank you for being a great teacher." You know, Santa loves the cookies that you give him on Christmas Eve. I eat many of them, and I take some back to the North Pole with me. And I also want to thank you for leaving treats for the reindeer. Carrots, apples. But boy, Santa does love his cookies. Ho, ho, ho. How do you think I needed to get that huge belt? Mrs. Claus doesn't like that I eat so many cookies. We even read a story a little while ago Cookies for Santa. Find that video. It talks about one of Santa's favorite kinds of cookies. Soon it was Christmas Eve, and Eddie's family decorated their tree and hung their stockings. "Okay, my little elves, it's time for bed," their mom said. "Santa will be here soon," their dad added. "Let's get you all tucked in." "It sure was fun being Santa's helper," said Eddie. "I like making people happy." Sarah Lynn agreed. "I almost feel like one of Santa's elves." Have you ever heard the saying, "It's better to give than to receive"? That's a special saying. It's about helping other people. Santa really, really appreciates the children who get on his nice list by being Santa's helpers and helping other people. As the children slept, Santa delivered his presents all over the entire world. "Are we finished?" one of his elves asked. "Almost," Santa answered. "Yes, we just have a few more special houses to visit." "Ho, ho, ho, let's go." Santa called to his reindeer. He snapped the reins, and with jingle bells ringing, the sleigh swooped down into the children's neighborhood. What is Santa up to? That Christmas morning, Eddie, Sarah, Lynn, Sonia Lee, Michael, and Maggie, they each found a very special gift under the tree. A thank you note attached to a striped hat with a little jingle bell on the end. "This hat looks just like the one Santa's elves wear," Sarah Lynn said. "I guess we really are Santa's helpers." "Thank you," Santa wrote, "and Merry Christmas." Here's a note for Eddie. "Dear Eddie, you were such a great helper that I'm making you one of my official elves. Merry Christmas, and remember that by helping other people, you can make it feel like Christmas all year round." What a wonderful story about Santa's helpers. You too can be one of Santa's helpers, and Santa will have you on his nice list. Santa makes appearances all around the world. He sees boys and girls, and he enjoys visiting with them and listening to their stories. He also sometimes delivers a special hat and thank you notes. The next story, and this will be the last story for our evening together, is a Berenstain Bear story. Maybe you've read some of these. This is called The Joy of Giving. Hello, Sarah. Good to see you, dear. Hello, Millie. Hello, Hector. Hello, Luis. Maria, good to see you too. I'm so glad you could join us. There are so many of you. Thank you for joining in as Santa reads. The Joy of Giving. The Berenstains are actually very famous, and they're real people. And they wrote a whole series of stories. The Joy of Giving. Remember what we just said? It's better to give than to receive. It was the week before Christmas, and all over Bear Country, everyone was busy getting ready for the big day. They were Christmas shopping, Christmas decorating. Christmas was everything. Down at the chapel in the woods, the cubs of Bear Country were busy getting ready for their Christmas Eve play. You see, everyone's busy with Christmas preparations. Do you have traditions? Ways that you get ready? Do you buy a Christmas tree? Do you go into the woods and decorate a living Christmas tree? Do you go shopping? Do you bake cookies? Do you decorate your house? Do you put up Christmas lights? Do you buy presents or make presents for neighbors and friends and family? Ways to make Christmas special. Giving more than receiving. I have so many children that Santa meets, and they don't ask for things for themselves. They ask for things for their little brother or their little sister. One little girl who was 8 asked Santa, "Can you please bring a new pair of shoes for my brother? His are getting worn out." A little boy who was 7 was very wise, and he was selling flowers with his parents in a flower market. "Santa, I don't need anything, but can you bring a dolly and maybe a house for my sister? She works so hard helping my parents prepare the flowers and sell them." Children who know the value of giving to others. It was the story of the first Christmas, and brother and sister had important roles. They were to be the camel of the 3 wise bears. Sister was the front end of the camel, and brother brought up the rear of the camel. They thought it was the best costume ever. Mrs. Ursula, their Sunday school teacher, was directing, "All right, wise bears, enter. Come on to the stage." And then the 3 wise bears came onto the stage, and they carried gifts, and they had on fake beards. Now, Santa's beard, I don't know if you can tell, but many children, when they see Santa, they wonder if I'm real. And I let them tug my beard to prove that Santa is real. And then they believe. They usually turn to their mom or their dad and say, "That's a real beard." The first wise bear was played by Sammy Bruno, who had a loose tooth on the front of his front mouth. "I Theathar," he said, not being able to pronounce the S. Mrs. Ursula sighed. "Okay, Camel," she called. "You're on." Sister and brother followed the 3 wise bears, but it was hard to see out of the costume. And Sister accidentally knocked over a palm tree. The 3 wise bears tripped, and they all went down in a tangle. Do you see him? I don't know that I've ever been in a costume like that where I've tripped and fallen. "Oh dear," said Miss Ursula. "Will we ever be ready for our Christmas play?" "Oh, we're so sorry," said sister and brother, poking their heads out. "It's hard to see in here." "I think this costume has been used before. It kind of stinks, too." "I'll need to make your peepholes for your eyes bigger," she thought. That's enough for today, Cubs. The Cubs took off their costumes and they went out into the chilly night air. The chill was so cold, it was one of those nights where you can see your breath going out into the air. It's sure beginning to feel a lot like Christmas. The whole neighborhood was now decorated for Christmas. Sister and brother walked home in the soft glow of many, many Christmas lights. The next day, the Bear family were shopping. it was time for brother and sister to pick out a few special gifts. This year they had 2 crisp $10 bills that Grandpa had given them to spend on others. Oh, goodness gracious. Of course, brother and sister immediately thought that they should spend the money on themselves. Sister was saving up for a brand new Barbie doll, and brother wanted a special rubber band powered airplane. But then they remembered Grandpa's words. This money is for you to spend on other people. Papa and Honey helped brother do his shopping, while Mama went with sister. Brother picked out a Barbie doll, an outfit that he found on sale for sister, and sister bought a small airplane model for brother. Each cost just a few dollars. Mama and Papa thought that maybe each cub should have spent a little bit more money on the other. What about the joy of giving? Whispered Mama to Papa. It seems brother and sister only care about the joy of getting. True, agreed Papa, but let's not interfere. They'll learn about the joy of giving for themselves. Should I tell you a story? Sometimes Santa has grown men, it's always grown men, come up to him and say, Santa, can you get me a fancy car for Christmas? A Ferrari or a Lamborghini? Santa responds to them and says, but first, you need to explain to me what you're willing to give. You're just wanting to receive something. What are you willing to give? They're shocked when Santa says that to them. It's fun, though, to see them kind of worry. Over the next few days, Christmas excitement in Bear Country grew and grew. Brother and sister could hardly wait. They were going to be a camel and get lots of presents, too. Rehearsals for the play continued. Sister and brother could see better out of their costume holes, and everyone knew their lines, but it was still a little hard to understand some children's words. When Christmas Eve finally arrived, practically everyone in Bear Country jammed into the chapel to see the cubs perform. A hush fell as the curtain opened. You see everybody sitting in the audience? First, the angel Gabriel came to Mary, telling her that she would be giving birth to a Savior. Then Joseph and Mary journeyed to Bethlehem, where the innkeeper gave them shelter in a stable. Then Mary gave birth to a tiny baby and laid him in a manger. An angel appeared to the shepherds who were tending their sheep out in the wilds. Finally, the 3 wise bears and their faithful camel trooped onto the stage. The foil Christmas star hung from above as they followed the star. Sammy finally said, I see the star. The 3 wise bears kneeled before Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. Everyone bowed low before the tender baby. The audience grew very still. Then someone in the back began to softly sing, Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright. And eventually the entire audience joined in and ended by saying, Sleep in heavenly peace. Peeking out of the camel costume, tears came to the eyes of sister and brother. It seemed they had never understood the joy of giving until that moment. all the gifts of all the Christmas of all the years past. These were the gifts that they enjoyed the most. The play was now over, and it was now Christmas morning. Brother and sister led the family downstairs, bright and early, but instead of heading to their own pile of presents, they went to their gifts for each other. "Merry Christmas," they said, holding out their presents. "From one end of the camel to the other," said brother. "Thank you," laughed sister. "You're a good brother. You're a good sister." Brother and sister were delighted with their gifts and that they'd given each other, but they also gave each other hugs. Honey opened their presents. Brother and sister joined in. In the back of their minds, though, they were still thinking about the money they had left over from their shopping trip. They hadn't spent very much money on the gifts. Later that morning, the family went to the chapel in the woods for the Christmas Day service. A light snow covered the ground. On the way into town as they walked, sister and brother noticed a group of bears playing Christmas carols with their instruments. They were collecting money for needy children. Brother and sister looked at each other. They dug into their pockets, and all of the extra money they had, they put it into the pot so other children could get some food during the Christmas season. Mama and Papa smiled with pride. "You know what the good book says," Mama told them. "It's the more blessed to give than to receive." Isn't that what Santa was just explaining? "We know," said brother. "We receive an awful lot, so it's time we gave some of it back." "Look," said sister, feeling in her pocket. "I still have a quarter." Honey Bear reached for it, and sister put it in her hand. Then little Honey, holding on to Papa, toddled over to the big black pot and dropped the quarter inside so they could provide even more food to those children who needed food. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all. And have a blessed Christmas. Santa will return. That concludes our reading for tonight. Santa Reads. Remember, tell your friends and family that they can come on to Santa's YouTube channel, Santa Jeff Claus, and watch any of these videos, and also videos from our live broadcasts in the past. But they can also just come and listen to stories that Santa reads. And so until we meet again, which will be, today is what, Wednesday? Is it Wednesday? No, today's Thursday here. Friday, in 2 days at 10 o'clock on Facebook, I Believe in Santa, ho, ho, ho. I'll be having a new special episode for you. I think it's episode 5. So until then, be good. Take care of other people. Be kind and gentle and helpful. Farewell for now.